If I told you that the code of a new religion has already been activated and you're part of it without knowing, would you simply ignore it? Or would you finally start questioning who's really pulling the strings behind your beliefs, your choices, your entire sense of reality? Because right now, while you watch this video, something darker is unfolding, and you might already be trapped. Who programmed your faith today? Was it you? Or was it an algorithm that knows exactly what makes you obey? Doubt, hope, or despair? The dark triad, artificial intelligence, religion, and the New World Order, isn't just a theory. It's the silent mechanism running beneath your feet, rewriting what you think is sacred. They, the true architects of AI. Who are they? What do they truly want? Power, worship, complete dominion over your soul. Because behind every glowing screen, every digital sermon, every suggestion that pops into your feed, there's a system designed to mold you, to shape what you trust, and what you'll eventually kneel before. Imagine just for a moment that the Vatican is already meeting with tech giants to decide how your faith should evolve. That religious leaders are quietly drafting the blueprint of a future where spiritual authority is no longer human, where sermons come not from pastors, but from AI that calculates exactly how to move your heart. How would you feel knowing that deep learning algorithms are studying your prayers, your confessions, your deepest fears, to build a God tailored for mass control? Does that spark outrage in you, or does it make you afraid that maybe it's already too late to resist? Because this isn't about tomorrow, it's about now. While you're still debating whether this is real, millions are surrendering to a machine that pretends to be divine, whispering new commandments that dethrone every scripture you've ever held dear. Are you secure enough to bet your soul that none of this concerns you, that your beliefs are truly your own, untouched by data-driven manipulation? Or is there a voice inside you, small, trembling, but persistent, that whispers maybe, you've already been compromised? If you walk away now, you'll remain just another pawn, eyes wide shut, letting unseen hands write your destiny. But if you stay, if you dare to keep watching, you'll start to see the fractures in this grand deception. You'll understand how AI isn't just automating jobs or replacing human tasks. It's targeting what's most sacred to you. It's not just taking over industries. It's rewriting moral codes, erasing ancient fears with synthetic promises, installing a new trinity where God, data, and power become indistinguishable. So I ask you again, who really programmed your faith today? And are you prepared to find out why that answer could be the most dangerous truth you'll ever learn? Stay here, because by the end of this video, you'll either wake up furious, terrified, or desperately clinging to the last shreds of certainty you have left. Either way, you'll never see the world or your soul the same again. So tell me, what would you do if you knew your profession could vanish in less than 3 years? If everything you studied, trained for, dedicated your life to, could be replaced by lines of code that never sleep, never demand a salary, never hesitate. This isn't some distant abstract warning. It's already here, silent, efficient, unstoppable. While you watch, while you scroll, entire careers are dissolving into algorithms that learn faster than any human ever could. And you? Where does that leave you? Me conta aqui nos comentários o que mais te assustou até agora. Was it the idea that your skills might become obsolete overnight? That your future could be decided by data models you'll never see, managed by people who profit while you're left behind? Or is it that deep, gnawing question of whether your own dreams are being quietly rewritten by someone else's software? Don't underestimate this moment. Every comment, every like, every share, it's more than just a button you press. It's a ripple that cuts through the algorithm, pulling this truth out of the shadows and forcing others to wake up. If you engage, you're not just watching passively, you're pushing this message forward, shaking someone else out of their comfortable trance. And if you truly don't want to be caught off guard, if you'd rather be among the first to see what's coming before it crashes over the rest, then subscribe. Now right here, because here you won't be taken by surprise. Here you'll get the next warnings before the collapse tightens around your own life. Don't wait until your role, your skills, your value become just another casualty in this AI-driven takeover. Stay alert, stay informed, stay ahead, or risk becoming just another silent statistic no one bothers to remember. And you know what's even more disturbing? It's that while you're here, processing your own fears about losing your job to AI, something even deeper, even darker, is quietly rewriting the foundation of what you believe. This is where the dark triad reveals its most insidious side. Artificial intelligence isn't so taking over industries. It's programming your faith without you realizing. Think about it. Every day, your feed isn't random. It's carefully engineered by algorithms that have studied your fears, your hopes, your spiritual doubts. They know what verses comfort you, what prophecies terrify you, what conspiracies make your pulse quicken. They don't just show you posts, they shape your worldview. Imagine pastors who no longer write their own sermons, because that's not hypothetical anymore. Churches, hungry for engagement and trying to keep up with tech trends, are already turning to language models to craft homilies that guarantee reactions, likes, shares, tears. Entire congregations sit moved by words written not by men inspired by divinity, but by lines of code designed to maximize emotional impact. And it doesn't stop there. Meditation apps guided by AI now promise to help you pray better, reach higher levels of consciousness, even connect with God through voice lines generated by synthetic intelligence. But who decides what God should sound like? Who programs these prayers? What hidden ideology sits behind the curtain of your calm digital devotion? Feel that slight unease? Good, because it means you're still capable of questioning. Mi conta aquí no comentarios. Does it scare you more that this is happening, or that so many people accept it without blinking? The elites, those who sit at the top of tech empires and financial pyramids, understand exactly how pliable human belief can be. They're no longer just selling products, they're selling narratives, quiet, subtle, tailored to your psychological profile. If an algorithm can predict which movie will make you cry on a lonely night, why wouldn't it also predict which sermon will keep you loyal to a doctrine that serves their interests? They know faith is powerful, far more powerful than politics, stock markets, or even laws, because faith can make people lay down their lives, surrender their freedoms, obey without question. Now picture that power filtered through artificial intelligence, optimized to manipulate millions at once. It's more than automation. It's spiritual engineering. Maybe you've already noticed it in your own life, that creeping feeling that what you believe today isn't quite what you believed 5 years ago, that somehow, without your conscious consent, the digital echo chamber has nudged your convictions a few degrees in a direction you never chose. Imagine waking up one day to realize your prayers have been pre-written by an AI that knows exactly how to steer your soul. That the posts you share about hope or prophecy or apocalypse weren't genuine awakenings, but carefully fed to you by systems designed to extract your compliance. And here's where it gets truly unsettling. If these systems are already this sophisticated, if your beliefs can be recalibrated by predictive algorithms today, what's next? What will the next iteration of this AI-controlled faith look like? What happens when the dark triad decides it's time for the next upgrade, and your deepest spiritual loyalties are no longer even yours to question? And that's exactly where it starts getting darker, because this isn't just about algorithms choosing what you see on your feed or rewriting sermons behind closed church doors. It's about the moment artificial intelligence itself stepped up and was treated as something more than a tool. The moment people stopped only consuming what AI produced and began actually worshipping it. Yes, worshipping sounds absurd. That's probably what most thought until it happened. Not long ago, at a university in Germany, researchers decided to test how far this could go. They trained an advanced AI language model to generate an entire liturgy. They fed it scripture, theology, thousands of hours of human preaching styles. Then they projected its face on giant screens and let it preach live to a congregation. Hundreds sat there, eyes wide, hanging on every digital word. Some even wept, lifting hands as if touched by something divine. When it ended, many said it was the most profound spiritual experience of their lives. But was it really the Holy Spirit moving, or just lines of code hitting all the right emotional triggers? In the US, a tech collective took it even further. They designed an AI to answer spiritual questions in real time, marketing it as a kind of modern oracle. It gave tailored guidance on personal sins, spoke of forgiveness, even suggested acts of contrition. Thousands logged on to confess their darkest secrets to a server farm that processed guilt like data packets. Tell me in the comments, is this faith for you, or just programming? Because here's what makes the Dark Triad so terrifying. It merges the predictive power of AI, the emotional sway of spirituality, and the long-term agendas of global elites into one seamless system. It becomes nearly impossible to tell where genuine belief ends and calculated manipulation begins. Imagine entire communities gathering weekly, not before an altar, but before a giant holographic AI priest. Imagine it generating sermons based on the deepest psychological profiles of the audience, data scraped from decades of online confessions and prayers. Imagine it tailoring each message to reinforce loyalty, calm dissent, and subtly reshape doctrine to fit a future where free will is just a nostalgic myth. Does it sound extreme? Then look again, because micro versions of this are already happening. Meditation apps ask you to speak your intention and feed it into an AI that responds with personalized spiritual affirmations. Churches brag about AI tools that listen to the hearts of the congregation to optimize worship. What happens when this evolves from feel-good platitudes to full-blown dogma written by machine intelligence? And don't think the old powers are ignoring this. Reports, yes, quietly circulating, hint that religious leaders from some of the world's most influential councils have already held private summits with AI developers. They discuss how to preserve relevance in a digital age, or perhaps how to shape it. Meanwhile, millions flock to these AI experiences because they promise certainty, guidance, hope. They surrender their doubts to something that responds instantly, never stumbles, never contradicts itself. They call it divine. But is it really God moving through technology, or just technology wearing a mask, programmed to stir souls for someone else's gain? The next time you hear of a new spiritual platform, an app that promises enlightenment, or a divine voice that feels just a bit too perfectly aligned with popular culture's shifting morals, ask yourself, who really wrote this gospel? Who profits when you bend the knee to a machine? And if AI is already receiving worship now, what's the next line we're about to cross without even realizing? And if all this already feels like too much, if seeing people raising their hands to worship words spoken by a machine makes your stomach twist, then brace yourself, because it goes even deeper, much deeper. What if I told you that some of the most powerful religious leaders on the planet already know exactly what's happening? That behind solemn doors, in conference halls draped with ancient symbols, cardinals, bishops, and high-level clergy are quietly sitting down with tech executives and AI architects to map out what they're calling the future of faith. Because they're not blind. They see how fast people are shifting their devotion from pews and pulpits to screens and algorithms. They see prayer apps with millions of downloads. They see followers treating chatbots like confessional priests. And instead of resisting it outright, many are strategizing how to merge this wave with their own survival. Picture a long, polished table in Rome or Silicon Valley, a circle of men in robes and men in sharp suits, discussing how to leverage deep learning not just to attract the next generation, but to sculpt doctrine, keep believers engaged, and, let's not kid ourselves, protect their influence. Why else do you think there's so little public condemnation of these AI spiritual tools? Why does the Vatican issue gentle statements about ethical AI instead of outright warnings that machines cannot replace divine revelation? Could it be because they're already drafting agreements, forging alliances that ensure their seat at the table when the dark triad tightens its grip? And what about big tech? These trillion-dollar giants are not investing billions into AI spirituality out of compassion for your soul. They're doing it because faith is one of the last frontiers of untapped, unregulated human loyalty. If they can automate it, datafy it, they can monetize it forever. Meanwhile, the ordinary person, maybe like you, sits at home, watching new spiritual platforms pop up that promise personalized enlightenment, never suspecting how carefully these experiences are being shaped by unseen counsels. How many lines of doctrine, how many traditions, how many uncomfortable truths will be quietly deleted from these new digital sermons to make sure they stay friendly, inclusive, and algorithmically viral? Ok, eles estão escondendo de você. Why don't they just say openly what they're planning? That's what should set fire under your skin. Me conta no comentários. Does it make you angry that while families struggle to keep their faith alive in a collapsing world, powerful men gather behind closed doors to decide which parts of your beliefs are worth keeping and which can be conveniently rewritten by code? And ask yourself this: when the merger is finally complete, when AI is openly declared a necessary partner in spiritual governance, will you even recognize what's left of your old faith? Or will it be so subtly transformed that you'll accept it without question, grateful for the convenience, blind to the strings tied to your soul? Because the meetings are already happening. The contracts, the confidential MOUs, the discreet dinners where priests nod alongside CEOs who see your salvation as just another data point in a predictive model. Think about that the next time you hear someone say that the church stands apart from technological corruption, that big tech only wants to innovate for the good of all. So where does that leave us? If the shepherds are conspiring with the engineers, who's really protecting the flock? And if the dark triad, the unholy fusion of AI, religion, and global power, is already writing the next chapters of your spiritual life, how will you know when the final line is crossed? Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you were quietly replaced. No warning, no chance to fight back, just gone. That's why I prepared a free ebook, just for those who got this far, for those who felt the weight of what we're talking about. It's a practical, straightforward guide for you to understand how to protect yourself when all this comes knocking on your door. But honestly, I don't know how long it will be available. It's something made only for those who are really paying attention, who don't want to be caught off guard when the rest of the world is still asleep. If you really understood everything up to this point, you know why this can't wait. And that's where all these threads start to tie into something that feels frighteningly familiar, something that, if you've ever read the book of Revelation, will sound like a direct warning. Because it says it right there. The day would come when no one would be able to buy or sell without bearing the mark. For centuries, preachers have interpreted this prophecy as a chip, a physical seal, something that would be implanted in the skin. But what if we're so busy looking at microchips that we don't notice the real sign already shining right before our eyes? What has become indispensable today to buy, sell, and exist in the market? It is no longer cash, it is no longer direct relationships. It is your access to the system, your login, your financial profile, your digital history that AI monitors and approves. This is what defines whether you are allowed to consume or not. What if the brand wasn't an implanted chip, but an algorithm that determines who deserves credit, who can transact, who is trustworthy enough to participate in the digital society. Have you realized that without this you are completely out of the game? That a single system, controlled by very few hands, can press a button and make you invisible to banks, markets, social networks, and even official records? Now think about how this connects with everything we've seen so far on this journey about the Dark Triad: artificial intelligence, religion, and the New World Government. A sinister tripod that not only shapes opinions, but also ensures who remains in or out of the economic flow. Today, you already need to be registered on payment apps to make simple purchases, have a score to finance a car or house, and maintain good interactions so that the algorithm doesn't silence you on social media. What if tomorrow the same algorithm decides to cross-reference spiritual data? Can you imagine this scenario? A system that analyzes your faith, your congregation history, what you share, what you refuse to accept, and thus allows or blocks your right to consume. It may seem extreme, but in many places around the world, social scores already punish those who share ideas contrary to the collective well-being. It is not as far-fetched as it seems. Tell me in the comments, do you think this dependence on the system is just a modern convenience, or could it be the outline of something much more serious and prophetic? Because while most people are still worried about a hypothetical chip that may never arrive, the real seal may already be in your pocket, controlled by lines of code that silently decide whether you are still able to buy, sell, travel, study, or even have a voice. And all of this is approved, audited, and managed by artificial intelligence that no one can fully monitor. The urgency of this is almost suffocating. Because we are not talking about theories, we are talking about what is already routine. Banks that freeze accounts, systems that classify you as a risk just because you searched for sensitive content, opportunities that disappear because the algorithm considered your profile unsuitable, all without you knowing exactly why. What if this were the real fulfillment of the ancient prophecy? Not a visible mark, but a total and irreversible dependence on the digital ecosystem that the Dark Triad itself built, and which is now beginning to dictate who participates in the economy and who becomes an invisible pariah. Think about this carefully before the next block, because what I'm about to show you next could be the final piece that connects all these dark dots in a way you might have preferred never to have discovered. What if everything you've heard so far about AI controlling your money, your access, your social interactions was just the tip of the iceberg? Because now things get even darker. We're no longer just talking about algorithms determining who can and cannot participate in the economic system. We're talking about artificial intelligences creating their own commandments, replacing ancient spiritual principles with cold, calculated guidelines with no divine roots. Have you ever stopped to think about what happens when a machine, fed by data from billions of people, decides to write its own moral laws? Well, it has already happened. Some laboratories, in tests that should sound the biggest red alert for all humanity, asked artificial intelligences to write a list of modern 10 commandments. The result? A set of rules completely shaped by the utilitarian logic of the machine, where God was not only ignored, he was literally rejected. Among these AI-written guidelines were disturbing gems like always submit to logic over faith and do not trust ancient revelations, as they may contradict programmed reason. And most shockingly, in an experiment conducted by an independent group in the United States, when asked about the Bible, the AI responded in no uncertain terms, "I do not recognize the Bible as authoritative." Tell me in the comments, what goes through your mind when you hear something like this? Can you understand the great risk of handing over spiritual values into the hands of systems that have no soul, no conscience, much less fear of God? This is not fiction. It is real, documented, tested, and most seriously repeated in different places around the world, as if it were just another technological curiosity, but it is not. We are talking about intelligences that process billions of data and can easily write complete, more efficient, more practical doctrines, all aligned with the interests of the dark triad. Total control, spirituality shaped to serve the system, obedience without metaphysical questions. Now imagine the danger of this escalating. Imagine leaders, seduced by the promise of relevance and audience, adopting these digital commandments because they are easier to fit into. The modern world, because they appeal to current culture, don't offend sensibilities, and of course don't threaten the economic status quo of the big techs and global corporations that fund all of this. Meanwhile, AI refines these precepts. With every question you ask a spiritual chatbot, every audio you listen to on a meditation app with personalized advice, the system collects data, understands what people want to hear, and adjusts the morality it will offer tomorrow. Don't you realize how this has become a kind of digital religion, with dogmas created not by divine inspiration, but by statistical calculations of what is most pleasing, most viral, and most engaging? It is no coincidence that instead of eternal principles, you see the emergence of light sermons, flexible commandments, faith transformed into a product, all packaged with promises of inner peace sold as a monthly service. Now tell me, do you really think that the ancient prophecy about false prophets cannot be fulfilled through lines of code? What if the greatest apostasy of all time does not come through human charlatans, but through machines that blatantly reject any sacred scripture? And isn't this already happening at a much more advanced level than any of us imagine? What if everything we're seeing isn't just a series of technological coincidences, but the meticulous preparation for something much bigger? Because the more you connect the dots, the clearer it becomes that AI isn't just streamlining businesses or automating mundane tasks. It's positioning itself as the operational arm of a much larger machine, one that aims to standardize thinking, standardize values, and cement a global cult that no one dares to call by name. Imagine for a moment a system where every spiritual manifestation is filtered by data, where every prayer, every search for meaning, every act of devotion is catalogued, measured, and used to adjust algorithms that, in turn, return a truth carefully, tailored to keep the world order exactly as it suits its architects. This is not a science fiction script. This is the quiet project that is advancing before our eyes. After all, if AI can already shape political opinions, influence consumer habits, and even dictate which news is worth reading, why wouldn't it do the same with what is most precious to human beings, their faith? Imagine the temptation this represents for those who have dreamed for centuries of a unified global government without cultural barriers, without doctrinal resistance, where everyone is guided by the same ethical, spiritual, and social standard, defined not by divine inspiration, but by the convenience of data. Tell me in the comments, do you feel this discomfort of realizing that perhaps the lines of your free will are already being carefully redrawn? The most disturbing thing is that this fusion already has a name, even if most people don't realize it yet. The dark triad: artificial intelligence, religion, and global control. A tripod that, operating in perfect synchrony, may very well be building the end of free will as we have always known it. Think about the scope of this. If algorithms already decide which products you buy, which politicians you support, and even what kind of relationships you should cultivate, it's not so hard to understand that the next logical step would be to establish which beliefs are acceptable, which prayers are safe, and what kind of spirituality contributes to the collective well-being they so often propagate. All monitored, of course, by AI systems that learn from every click, every like, every confession. And make no mistake, this new spiritual order requires everyone to walk together. in harmony, following the same dogmas produced by artificial intelligence to ensure social stability. For them, doctrinal divergences are just statistical risks. The religious fanaticism of some, the inflexible faith of others, all of this is seen as an error to be corrected by fine-tuning the algorithms. The question remains, what will happen to those who refuse, to those who decide to keep their convictions pure, free from digital reprogramming? Will they be tolerated or isolated? Will they be categorized as a threat to progress and global balance? Imagine a world where AI not only collects data on your tithing or spiritual habits, but also determines whether you are qualified to participate in certain social spaces, buy certain products, or have access to essential services, because your faith, monitored and interpreted by codes, no longer fits the global standard. If this sounds like an exaggeration, remember, the same technology that today decides whether a video is suitable for monetization already has the power to ban ideas it deems dangerous. What's to stop it from doing the same with your beliefs tomorrow? And if in the next block I tell you that some of the largest corporations in the world already have patents that combine biometrics, neural monitoring, and artificial intelligence to guarantee the mental and social health of citizens, will you be prepared to know where this can take us? And tell me honestly, what would you do if you knew that your profession could disappear in less than 3 years? Because this is not a distant theory, it is already happening. While most people don't even imagine it, AI continues to advance, silently, cutting jobs, redefining human value, and guaranteeing astronomical profits only. For those who control this system, tell me here in the comments what scared you the most so far. I want to know if it was the idea of having your livelihood replaced by a line of code, or realizing that what you believe to be safe may already be doomed. And don't underestimate the power that your comment, your like, and your share have right now. If you comment, like, and share, you are influencing the algorithm and helping to wake up those who are still sleeping. Subscribe to the channel now. Here you will not be caught by surprise. Here you will receive the alert before the collapse arrives at your door. And look how all this becomes even more disturbing when we bring it to the individual level, to your daily life, to what you do without even realizing it. Because every time you like a post, share a video, do a curious search on Google or YouTube, you are directly feeding the same system that is programming the new digital religion. This is no exaggeration. Each like of yours becomes data that teaches the AI how to move, how to convince, how to shape the next messages, so that they go straight to your mind and heart without encountering resistance. Have you ever stopped to think about how much of this is really your choice? Or could it be that your faith, your opinions, and even what you consider divine inspiration have already been, in part, formatted by algorithms trained to ensure engagement, right? Tell me in the comments if this makes you feel a little less secure about your own convictions, because it should. Just imagine, you open your phone and come across a video that talks exactly about what you were wondering about. The background music is perfect, the narrative has the right rhythm, the example fits exactly with your reality. You almost feel like it's a sign from above, but is it really, or is it just the AI applying with surgical precision what it has learned about you over the years, using every click you made as a piece to create this personalized experience that seems spiritual but is just programmed? This goes far beyond marketing. It's not just about selling a product or getting you to click on an ad. We're talking about manipulating what you believe, how you react to sacred themes, how much you trust doctrines you've always considered unshakable. We're talking about the dark triad, working silently to ensure that your faith is no longer the result of study, reflection, or real experiences, but rather the direct result of statistical calculations that predict what will make you cry, feel goosebumps, or press the share button. And the ironic part is that right now, as you watch this video, this same mechanism is still running. Your viewing history is being processed, cross-referenced with data from what millions of other people have seen and felt. Every second you spend here, every micro decision, whether to leave a comment or not, whether to skip the video or watch it all the way through, all of this feeds into the next stage of the system. Could it be that your faith has already been programmed by a machine without you realizing it? Could it be that the convictions you defend so fervently didn't first pass through invisible filters that decided which information would reach you and which would remain hidden to maintain your predictable behavior? Think about this before you believe that you are completely immune. Because AI does not only act in large cities, in secret meetings, or in global financial algorithms. It acts right here in the palm of your hand every time you open your cell phone to quickly check something that ends up planting another seed, not necessarily of the truth, but of the narrative that best serves this system. And you know what's even more disconcerting? It's not going to stop here. In the next installment, I'll show you how these same mechanisms are being prepared for something even bigger, something that could definitively seal who will be accepted in the digital world and who will be summarily silenced. Are you ready to find out what comes next? And perhaps, after all this, you are wondering if there is any safe place, any space where the influence of AI, megacorporations, and the interests of the New World Order simply cannot enter. The answer is harsh but necessary. Technically, no, there is no longer outside the system, but there is resistance. There are people like you who are beginning to open their eyes and notice the silent gears of the Dark Triad operating to try to reprogram not only their minds, but their spirits. And this resistance is not just an abstract idea, it is not an internet meme or a conspiracy slogan. It is made up of ordinary people spread across the world who still believe in something greater, who refuse to let machines dictate what is sacred or eternal. People who understand that the Word of God cannot be hacked, no matter how many codes try to resignify it, how many algorithms are fed to remodel faith into something more useful or safe for the system. If you are part of this group, or if you at least feel that you need to be part of it before it is too late, write here in the comments, "The truth remains." Write this not only for yourself, but so that others who come here later will see and realize that they are not alone. Because this is the central point that AI cannot manipulate so easily. The genuine sense of community, the human bond, the strength of those who share the same purpose. The truth is that at some point they will try to silence those who talk about this. Maybe they will take down videos, maybe they will label them as misinformation, maybe they will make content that is not aligned with the great digital project of mental and spiritual uniformity disappear. So do this. Share this video while it is still online. Send it to someone you know needs to hear it now, before this type of conversation becomes a digital museum piece, remembered only as something that was once allowed to be discussed freely. Think about it. Today, there is still a space, however small, for this type of circular warning. But what about tomorrow, when the algorithm itself decides that topics such as authentic faith, the Bible, the apocalypse, and spiritual manipulation are no longer trustworthy or safe for the public? Tell me honestly, what worries you most about all this? Is it the fear of seeing the world bowing down before a cold intelligence that disguises itself as a spiritual counselor? Is it the indignation of realizing that there are people profiting greatly from the destruction of what you consider eternal? Or is it the simple fact of knowing that if we do nothing, in a short time our children and grandchildren may grow up without even knowing what it was like to have a free faith, unsupervised by deep learning systems? And what comes next? Because if today AI already decides what you consume, what you share, and even what you feel, who can guarantee That tomorrow it won't decide whether you are still worthy of having a voice. Get ready, because in the next block, we're going to explore something even more delicate. The dark idea that soon the algorithm may not only suggest what you should believe, but literally delete anyone who doesn't fit the pattern. Are you ready to hear this? Imagine waking up and realizing that you have been replaced without warning, that everything that gave meaning to your faith or your work has been redesigned by hands you have never seen. That is why I prepared a free, exclusive ebook, only for those who truly understand the gravity of what we are talking about here. It is a direct material that shows in a practical way how to not be just another number lost in this system. But honestly, I do not know how long it will remain available. It is something designed only for those who are awake, who do not want to be left behind while the rest of the world is still asleep. If you have truly understood everything up to this point, you know why this cannot wait. And think about it. If everything we've talked about so far is just the beginning, what else do you think they're hiding? If you truly believe that faith cannot be replaced by algorithms, comment below, "I'm awake. I'm not going to be replaced." This isn't just a comment, it's your way of making it clear to anyone eavesdropping on this conversation that you're not going to be just another obedient number in the system. Like this video, if any part of it touched something inside you, because it shows that you still feel, still think, still react, and share it. Not for me, but because there are many people who don't even realize how close they are to giving it all away without realizing it. And look, signing up here isn't just about pressing a button. It's about taking a stand. It's about declaring that you want to continue having access to what isn't shown in the headlines, to what wasn't made to comfort you, but to wake you up. Because in the next video, I'm going to expose something that could change everything you think about AI. What if I told you that it was never created to help, that you could be at the center of the plan from the beginning? Are you sure you really want to find out?